Well, today I'm going to be talking about a superhero, probably the most iconic superhero of them all, aside from Batman, that is. You know him, you love him, Superman. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a bit of a marathon on my channel regarding the Man of Steel, but I'll explain that once we get into the video. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Hello, everyone. Britton here, also known as Samoki Dude, and if you didn't gather before, I am going to be discussing Superman today. I am actually going to be doing a new series. I said it on my most anticipated books and comics of 2025. I will be doing a couple of Superman reviews / reading a couple of Superman comics that I haven't read yet. I will be reviewing them on this channel, and I will be discussing them in preparation for the new Superman movie. I admit I am not the biggest Superman fan, but this movie does look very promising. It looks like a very back-to-basics kind of take on the Man of Steel. And I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to celebrate the occasion by covering some comics that have done a very good job, or maybe even a bad job, but mostly a good job. I'm going to be basically talking about mostly Superman stories that I like. I'm going to be talking about some Superman comics, and the first Superman comic I'm going to be doing, and I apologize for this because I don't actually own this, but I do have the cover on my phone. Superman Up in the Sky by Tom King and Andy Kuburt. I am sorry that I can't show you the actual book because I don't own it. So, yeah, this is the best you're going to get for right now. So, yeah, sorry about that. But it's a really good story, and it's one of the best Superman stories I've read in a while. So, let's get into the review and get into my thoughts on it. But, spoiler alert, I liked it quite a bit, and I actually think it's one of the better Superman stories that have come out in a while. So, yeah, let's get into it before I ramble on for too much longer. The more I read Tom King, the more I find myself agreeing with my friend Josh Pantalleresco's assessment of him. He tries things. Sometimes they can be really clever and interesting, like with Mr. Miracle, most of it anyway, or my personal favorite of his books so far, The Vision. And sometimes the guy tries way too hard to be innovative and be Alan Moore, and he kind of just falls flat on his face, as we've seen with stuff like his Batman run, or especially Heroes in Crisis. Fuck me. That said, I often find that King operates at his best when he cuts loose and lets himself have fun. When he sits down and writes a book where he can just cut loose and have some fun, where he isn't really conveying a big message, I find that he really shines. As a matter of fact, I would say that he is like Alan Moore in that way. So I'm happy to say that Superman Up in the Sky is one of those books. Now, Superman Up in the Sky is easily one of the best Superman books that I've read in some time, and it's very likely the best one that's been written in the last few years now. As I mentioned before, I don't really keep up with Superman, nor do I consider myself a big fan of his as I am with characters like Spider-Man, Daredevil, or his old pal, the Caped Crusader, Batman. But I do respect Superman. I do appreciate him as a character, and it's comics like Up in the Sky that really show me why I appreciate the Man of Steel. Sorry, you saw my photos right there, but here's the comic. It's the fucking thing about not owning comics. Jesus Christ. Now, mind you, that's not to say this book reaches the level of All-Star Superman, for that matter. Few books can reach that one's majesty. But King writes a damn good Superman, and he writes Supes doing what he does best, helping people who need it. Now, I will say, I do rag on Tom King, but one of his stronger attributes is making these superheroes feel human and lived in, rather it be through Scott Free's depression or struggling with a highly dysfunctional family, marriage, and dealing with a newborn, as well as fighting a freaking war. It's Mr. Miracle. Check that out. Or the Vision's existential angst about being a machine or his attempts at being human. I was nervous about King taking on Supes because he's kind of like writing Jesus. It's really hard to write someone who's an all-powerful being while also being a regular human like you or I. Well, technically he isn't, but I hope you get what I mean. King might not have Grant Morrison's madcap imagination that we see in such great works as All-Star Superman, but he often errs on the side of showing Superman's human side, rather it be his worries about Lois while he's away, or dealing with everyday setbacks that we all deal with, except it's in a wacky sci-fi setting and not on regular Earth where we go to the DMV and get super annoyed because the fucking lady doesn't know what she's doing, and it's very frustrating. I'm not at all talking about personal experience here. King is also really good at showing why Superman is awesome. Supes doesn't need to be an angsty sourpuss or overall conflicted to be a good character. Sorry, Henry Cavill. He's a character who swoops in and saves a little girl's life because he's Superman, goddammit. That's what he does. While King doesn't play with any big themes like he does in some of his best work, like The Vision or Mr. Miracle, he does explore what inspires someone like Superman to keep helping people and be the ray of hope and sunshine that we know and love. And the answer is very simple. It's us, the people who need his help the most and believe that he can and will save the day. And King also smacks away a lot of the misconceptions about Superman's character and even has him show a craftiness and cunning that most of us wouldn't have expected before. Up in the Sky even has one of my favorite Superman moments in recent years with his confrontation with Darkseid in the very middle of the comic. I won't dare spoil what happens, but with that moment, I do really think that we see Tom King at his best. Enough said on that. Andy Kuburt's art is delightful in this. I mean, this is the cover, so that kind of gives you a gist of what his art style is like. I don't know if it really reaches the mastery of some of King's other frequent collaborators like Mitch Gerads or Greg Smallwood, though I haven't read his Human Target run yet, so don't get after me in the comments. Kuburt gets what makes superheroes awesome, even paying tribute to his legendary father, Joe Kuburt, with an appearance from Sergeant Rock. Kuburt illustrates a very good Superman and shows him in his glory while also showcasing his vulnerabilities and weaknesses, because, well, Superman does have them, and even pays tribute to some older Superman comics, like Superman vs. Muhammad Ali. There's a really hilarious issue where Superman gets into a boxing match with an alien that's basically Superman versus Muhammad Ali, if anyone is familiar with that old comic. While I generally don't prefer Kubert's work, it's not really for me. It's more of a traditional superhero artist, more than I prefer. I'm much more of someone like Ryan Otley or even an Alex Ross kind of fan. Kuburt is a very good artist, make no mistake, and he does have a very good grasp on storytelling. There are a few miscues here and there, ones that prevented this book from receiving the almighty 5-star that many of the books I read chase after fervently. There is some slipshod pacing here and there, occasions where King tries to juggle tones and he doesn't always succeed. There are a couple moments in this series that just don't really work, and some that are just kind of dumb. Like one issue where Superman and Clark Kent split into two different beings, and there's some like weird sci-fi voodoo stuff that happens that it's kind of dumb and it kind of falls flat. Or when Supes kind of loses his memory, becomes Clark Kent for a little bit, and joins up with Sergeant Rock and his boys, which that makes me think. I'm surprised that Tom King hasn't actually tried writing a book about Sergeant Rock yet. You know, it seems like a book he would really take to. Anyway, but the good moments far overshadow the bad moments in this, and these setbacks don't really detract much from the overall whole. I generally liked this series quite a bit, and like I said, it was very much a pleasant surprise for me. King really gets Superman, and he gets Superman very well. Unfortunately, these miscues kind of took away from that experience a little bit. I do think this series could have even been better if there were a couple more issues, but that's just me. I don't know why they gave him 6 issues on Superman. He generally does 12 issues. You'd think that he would milk the crap out of that, but whatever. King really illuminates what makes a great superhero story. Sincerity. My God, I always talk about this when I talk about superheroes. I talked about it when I talked about it with Joe. Joe Byrne will know what I'm talking about here. Shout out to Joe if he watches this. But one of my big gripes with superhero stories nowadays is how so many writers have forgotten this and almost seem embarrassed by the fact that superheroes, and superhero comics for that matter, are meant to be kind of silly and whimsical on some level. Hell, even Alan Moore, understood this when he came onto the scene in the 80s and wrote stuff like Watchmen and Miracle Man. He understands that there is a silliness to the superhero genre. But what makes him cool is he goes, why not embrace these silly aspects? Unfortunately, many of the grim and gritty writers who came after him, and artists such as Rob Liefeld, that came after him, didn't really take that into account when they wrote their uninspired riffs on stuff like Watchmen and Miracle Man. But it's books like Superman Up in the Sky that makes me wish that Tom King would embrace this sincerity mode more. As while I enjoy his deconstructive work, like the stuff I've already mentioned before, I find that he has a much more natural groove when he lets himself go and lets himself have fun with writing these iconic characters, enjoying the process of telling the story without needing a big message to explore. The story is just a lot of fun, and it's also a really touching tribute to the Man of Steel, and it's clear that Tom King really loves Superman, and he really wants to do him well. And I do wish that he would kind of lean into that energy a little more. I think it would make him a much more natural, flowing storyteller. Though I've yet to read some of his other stuff, like his Strange Adventures and even Supergirl, which I actually bought recently, and I'm actually hoping to get to in this Superman-a-thon that I'm doing. But, yeah. That is all I have for talking about Superman Up in the Sky today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys come back and comment below if you guys like this story or if you guys are interested in reading this story. If there's any Superman fans in the comments below, give me some comic recommendations on some Superman stories. I would love to hear it from you guys. I am trying to do this. I'm trying to read a few Superman comics before July, which is when the new Superman movie comes out. I have already read stuff like Superman for all seasons. Sorry, not for all tomorrow. What am I talking about? Also, I've read like All-Star Superman, which is probably my favorite Superman story of all time. And of course, I've read Up in the Sky, which I've covered today. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As I like to do before the end of this, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Find me on Twitter. You can also find me on Goodreads and Letterboxd, where I write reviews that are probably more coherent than the one you just heard right now. You can also find me on Instagram and Blue Sky. I don't really use Blue Sky all that much because, well, just haven't gotten around to it very much, but I am starting to change on that. Also, like I said, like, subscribe, comment. If any of you have read this story, let me know what you think of it. As my buddy John Minton likes to say, when you press that like and subscribe, it feels good when you do it. And, yeah, like I said, if there's any Superman fans in the comments, let me know what Superman stories I should go out and read. I enjoy comics. I enjoy superheroes. And like I said, I am trying to read some Superman comics before the new movie comes out. So let me know if there are some good Superman comics out there, because I will read them. Like, I will read it. Just let me know. I'll do it. We're good to go. So, yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, I'll see you again.